Welcome to Access Hollywood. On the heels of a story that broke earlier this week in which the Associated Press interviewed more than 20 former Apprentice employees, some of the cast and crew described Mr. Trump's behavior toward women, recalling that he, on many occasions, made lewd and inappropriate comments. The Trump campaign issued a denial saying these outlandish, unsubstantiated, and totally false claims fabricated by publicity-hungry, opportunistic, disgruntled former employees have no merit whatsoever. Well, Access Hollywood has interviewed Mr. Trump hundreds of times over the past 20 years. In the course of reporting on Mr. Trump, we have reviewed much of our own footage. In 2005, when Donald Trump came to Los Angeles for the Emmy Awards for his nominated show, The Apprentice, he was also invited to spend a day as a soap opera star on Days of Our Lives. Access Hollywood's former anchor, Billy Bush, picked up Mr. Trump in our 10th anniversary bus at the Beverly Hills Hotel. We then brought him to meet up with one of the stars of the soap opera on the NBC lot in Burbank, where Days of Our Lives is shot and Access Hollywood was then produced. During the trip to the lot, Billy interviewed Mr. Trump about his role on the soap opera.
Well, the people at NBC asked me to do it. I'm here in Los Angeles. It's fun to do. I didn't want to do it. And then, you know, they said, and I asked Melania, is it okay? Because the place is loaded up with beautiful women, from what I understand. So she said, it's okay.
What if she said it wasn't okay?
I would have absolutely not done it.
We tell you all of the logistics so you understand the context. There were 7 other people on the bus with Mr. Trump and Billy Bush at the time. They were the 2-person camera crew, the bus driver, an Access Hollywood producer, a production assistant, Mr. Trump's security guard, and his PR person. Upon arriving at our NBC lot, our camera crew was let off the bus so they could record Mr. Trump getting off and meeting the soap opera star. What you're about to hear is what Mr. Trump said about former Access Hollywood anchor Nancy O'Dell to Billy Bush.
I moved on her, actually. You know, she was down in Palm Beach. I moved on her, and I failed. I'll admit it.
Whoa.
I did try and she was married.
It's huge news, Sarah.
No, Nancy.
Yeah.
No, this was marriages. And I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where there's some nice furniture. I took her out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch. But I couldn't get there, and she was married. And all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony everything. She's totally changed her look.
Once the bus was in place, Mr. Trump and Billy, the last 2 on the bus, waited to exit as Mr. Trump then made the following comments to Billy about the soap opera star.
I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the I can do anything.
In response, Mr. Trump has released this statement, quote, "This was locker room banter, a private conversation that took place many years ago. Bill Clinton has said far worse to me on the golf course, not even close. I apologize if anyone was offended."
I've never said I'm a perfect person, nor pretended to be someone that I'm not. I've said and done things I regret, and the words released today on this more than a decade-old video are one of them. Anyone who knows me knows these words don't reflect who I am. I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize. I've traveled the country talking about change for America, but my travels have also changed me. I've spent time with grieving mothers who've lost their children, laid off workers whose jobs have gone to other countries, and people from all walks of life who just want a better future. I have gotten to know the great people of our country, and I've been humbled by the faith they've placed in me. I pledge to be a better man tomorrow and will never, ever let you down. Let's be honest, we're living in the real world. This is nothing more than a distraction from the important issues we're facing today. We are losing our jobs, we're less safe than we were 8 years ago, and Washington is totally broken. Hillary Clinton and her kind have run our country into the ground. I've said some foolish things, but there's a big difference between the words and actions of other people. Bill Clinton has actually abused women, and Hillary has bullied, attacked, shamed, and intimidated his victims. We will discuss this more in the coming days. See you at the debate on Sunday.
NBC has suspended Today Show anchor Billy Bush indefinitely, following the leak of previously unreleased audio of the host engaging in conversation with Donald Trump back in 2005. In it, Donald and Bush both made controversial comments regarding women.
On Sunday night, NBC bosses decided he would not get the opportunity to apologize at all. He would be suspended, and we don't even know for how long. It's very possible he'll never be back on the Today Show.
Here's how Today addressed the suspension on air Monday.
We want to note one other thing. Pending further review of the matter, NBC News has suspended Billy Bush, the host of today's Third Hour, for his role in that conversation with Donald Trump.
As you can see, Billy Bush not joining us today, as you're probably aware, part of that 2005 Access Hollywood taping with Donald Trump that's been in the news all weekend.
NBC, which owns Access Hollywood, has suspended Billy for his role in that conversation, pending further review. With that said, let's turn to last night's debate.
Entertainment Tonight's Nancy O'Dell was one of the women discussed in that 2005 tape. Tune in to ET on TV Monday to hear what she has to say about the controversy.
Welcome, everybody. Well, before we get going tonight, I feel that it's very important that I address you all directly. As a journalist for 26 years now, it is my job to bring you news about others rather than turning the focus on myself. But by now, I'm sure that most of you have heard the audio tape, which became national news and part of the presidential race. My name was mentioned, and unfortunately, the release of it has thrown me in the middle of the political arena of which I didn't ask to be a part. I released a statement on Saturday, and I truly mean what I said. There is no room for objectification of women, or anyone for that matter, not even in the locker room. The conversation has got to change because everybody deserves respect, no matter the gender or setting. And as a mom, well, I have to add that our kids, especially our young girls, need to know that their hard work, their achievements, their intelligence, their heart are most important, and those things will not go unnoticed. I also want to take this time now to thank you, the viewers who so graciously open your homes to Entertainment Tonight every night. I have been flooded with your messages from around the world, and I so appreciate all of your kind words. I have been reading as many as I can, and they are completely renewing my faith that we all want a better and more inclusive society. So once again, I thank you all for your support.
She's a soap opera star who's been thrust into a real-life drama. Ariane Zucker is the woman seen in that Access Hollywood video with Donald Trump. This morning, she's talking with us about the comments he made about women and about her.
Ariane Zucker plays Nicole Walker on Days of Our Lives.
The only way we'll make amends is if I never see you again.
But her fictional character, she says, has never been through anything like this.
It feels very surreal to be in it. I'm not quite sure if I believe it yet. What about the role of Billy Bush? Some people believe that he egged it on. What's your reaction? Who knows how he was feeling when he walked off the bus or what he needed to do in the relationship. Because when he came off the bus, along with Mr. Trump, I had no feeling but professional. That's it.
Bush has been suspended by NBC News and has apologized for his role in the incident.
That's better.
Zucker says she hasn't been able to turn on the television the past few days without seeing the video. At the time, Trump was visiting the set of her soap opera for a cameo.
Walker, please, Nicole.
Ms. Walker, I'm a happily married man, and if it's a job you're looking for, I have all the apprentices I need.
Donald Trump issued an apology for what he described as locker room banter. Do you accept his apology? That was an interesting apology.
The actress says she's looking forward now, hoping to lead by example.
I want to teach my daughter that if she ever gets put in a situation like Mommy is right now, that she will hold her head high as well. And if she's learned anything from it, how can she share this with other women or young girls or whoever is around her, young boys even. I think young men can learn from this, of how not to be in front of women or when they're speaking about women.
Are you ready for this to go away?
I'm ready to use it in a proper way. I'm ready to use it for positivity. I'm ready to use it for women to step forward and to do good things in my life and for other people.
Ariane Zucker says she is planning to vote but won't say for whom. She also says she has not heard from Donald Trump nor from his campaign.
We're hearing from Melania Trump in her first TV interview since a number of women came forward to accuse Donald Trump of sexual assault. And since that 2005 Access Hollywood video of Trump leaked, in which he bragged about groping women. In an interview with CNN, she suggested her husband was egged on.
10 days ago that Access Hollywood released that tape. I'm wondering, when you first saw it, when you first heard it, what did you think?
I said to my husband that, you know, the language is inappropriate. It's not acceptable. And I was surprised because that is not the man that I know. And as you can see from the tape, the cameras were not on. It was only a mic. And I wonder if they even knew that the mic was on, because they were kind of a boy talk, and he was lead on, like egg on, from the host to say dirty and bad stuff.
You feel the host, Billy Bush, was sort of egging him on?
Yes, yes.
Is that language you had heard him use before?
No, no, that's why I was surprised, because I said, like, I don't know that person that would talk that way, and that he would say that kind of a stuff in private. I heard many different stuff, boys talk. The boys, the way they talk when they grow up and they want to sometimes show each other, oh, this and that, and talking about the girls. But yeah, I was surprised, of course.
Melania Trump last week threatened to sue People magazine after it published an account from a former writer who said Donald Trump forcibly kissed her during a 2005 interview. She called portions of that story false and completely fictionalized.
Billy Bush and NBC officially cut ties Monday, coming to an undisclosed buyout agreement after that tape of Billy and Donald Trump making lewd comments about women leaked. Here's how the Today Show handled the story Tuesday morning.
NBC News announced last night that Billy Bush would be leaving the Today Show effective immediately, noting that he was a valued colleague and longtime member of the broader NBC family. A statement Billy released separately last night read in part, "I look forward to what lies ahead." And of course, all of us here today wish Billy the very best.
And as you may have heard, our former co-host Billy Bush is no longer with the Today Show. As a longtime member of the NBC family, we wish Billy all the best as he moves forward. With that said, Dylan Dreyer is here today, along with Grammy-winning musician Harry Connick Jr., host of the new daytime entertainment show. Harry, thanks for joining us for 2 days in a row.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, Harry Connick Jr. has been filling in for Billy Bush this week. Still, it's unclear who the full-time replacement will be.
In 2005, Bush was a fresh-face Access Hollywood host, rubbing elbows with Hollywood's elite. He had crossed paths with reality show megastar Trump several times.
He was at the time the biggest star on television, not just the network with which we were both affiliated.
We do want to seriously welcome
Our pal Billy Bush.
Last summer, Bush made the jump to morning TV, his dream job as a co-host of The Today Show. But on October 7th, 2016, his career came to a screeching halt.
I'm not ready for that quite yet.
He was fired. Do you believe you should have lost your job over this?
Based upon the moment that is on that tape, I understand people's reaction. I agree. I also felt that way.
One of the harshest criticisms leveled against Bush was that he egged Trump on. Back then, Trump was about to make a cameo in a soap opera and was getting advice from Ariane Zucker.
Make me a soap star.
How about a little hug for the Donald? He just got off the bus.
Okay, absolutely. Melania said this was okay.
I just got off the bus. Bushy. There we go.
The point, Billy, that people drew the line is when you said, don't you want to hug the Donald? Don't you have a hug for him? After hearing him say those things, that is when people were like, oh, come on. It's one thing to agree with him and can understand that, but can you understand how people are like, no?
Listen, nobody reacted harsher and more gutturally than I did. It really, really just killed me. I say, you know, imagine a woman is watching that and she thinks, is that what happens to me? When I walk out of a room or out of a meeting, I'm being sized up in some way. I understand that.
Donald's wife, Melania, felt, as she said, you egged him on.
I definitely added to the conversation by, you know, I was keeping the ball in the air. With Trump, it's not much of a give and take. And I remember this moment, you know, when he said what he said at the end. To me, it was more braggadocio, his word, and performance. If I had ever thought, I like to think that there was a grown man sitting in front of me detailing his sexual assault strategy, I would have called the FBI.
There were reports that you knew about the tape and you were talking about it months beforehand.
I only talked about it with people who knew prior. I reported it as soon as it happened. I said you wouldn't believe the things that Trump was saying, you know, off camera.
Wait a minute, you reported that tape way back?
Yeah, sure. As soon as it was done, when I was recounting what happened, I said, yeah, but when the camera left, this is what the conversation was. And it was told me days later, well, that was on. The camera was rolling. There's audio of all that. I said, oh my gosh, wow. But I never thought about it again.
You're almost 34 at the time. Is that really, I mean, I understand what you're saying about wanting to prove yourself. But there were some people that said, you're old enough and you've been around enough. I mean, your last name is Bush. His uncle is former President George H.W. Bush. George W. and Jeb are his first cousins. You have been worldly more so than most people.
For sure. I should have known better, absolutely. There's no question about that. People also say you should have stopped him. But I didn't have the strength of character at the time to do that. I wish I did.
Last month, the New York Times reported that not long after his win, President-elect Trump told a Republican senator that he wanted to investigate the recording, adding, "We don't think that was my voice." According to the Times, Mr. Trump has continued to suggest that the tape was not actually him. Bush wrote an op-ed titled, "Yes, Donald Trump, you said that."
Well, before we go, we wanted to clear something up that has been reported across the media landscape.
According to the New York Times, President Trump told two people that the Access Hollywood bus tape, the one where he bragged about grabbing women by the you-know-what, is fake.
Let us make this perfectly clear. The tape is very real. Remember, his excuse at the time was locker room talk. He said every one of those words.
Billy Bush has returned to TV to challenge President Trump, who is reportedly denying that his voice is on that infamous Access Hollywood tape. Bush appeared on CBS's Late Show with Stephen Colbert last night after writing a New York Times op-ed responding directly to the president. Jerika Duncan is here with last night's interview.
Good morning. The former Today Show co-host described hearing his interaction with Mr. Trump on that tape as a gut punch every time. He did not mince words on Colbert, echoing the same charge he made in the Times.
You can't say that. That is your voice. I was there. You were there. That's your voice on the tape. And
Billy Bush pushed back hard on President Trump's reported denial of the Access Hollywood tape.
In the last 14 months of my life, I have been dealing with it. You dealt with it for 14 minutes and went on to be the president.
Let's move on to this. In this week's People magazine, Billy Bush is opening up exclusively nearly 3 years after the bombshell tape that almost ended his career, announcing he will host a new show called Extra Extra on Fox. That's coming up in September. Now, in the years since the fallout, Bush has also learned to adjust to his new family life, taking care of his kids and maintaining an amicable relationship with their mother. Bush and his estranged wife, Sydney, separated in 2017 after nearly 20 years of marriage. However, Bush says things are good between them. He says, "My relationship with her is the most important, and her considerations and needs will always come first for me."
A lot of growth there. Bush says he's also deepened his relationship with his 3 daughters, 20-year-old Josie, 18-year-old Mary, and 14-year-old Lily. Bush saying, quote, "I was forced to slow down. It's fascinating to watch them become women."
I've been thinking a lot about this.
Talk to me.
What will the reaction be when he's first back? What do you think?
I think the ratings are going to tell everything we need to know. I think time lets things sort of fly under the surface and under the radar. So it's going to be interesting to see what women are going to think about it.
So a lot of things have happened since that moment, including the Weinstein scandal, the Matt Lauer scandal, all these other things that have kind of emerged that in some ways make his offense.
Do you think it diminishes his role a little bit?
It seems a little less. Okay. I mean, again, it's open for people to judge and make their decisions. I think the ratings, at the beginning at least, out of curiosity, will be big. We'll see if it...
An explosive account from inside the 2016 Trump campaign that is new, rocking the White House tonight. These are some of the headlines from this scoop. It's a new book by journalist Tim Alberta, and it peels back how the Access Hollywood news hit the highest levels of the campaign. Trump's team was gathered for debate prep. Hope Hicks hands Trump an email exchange with reporter David Fahrenthold, who claimed to have an old audio recording of Trump making these remarks and boasting about his ability to get away with sexual assault. Then Trump responds, "This doesn't sound like me." Reince Priebus says this is really bad. And the group seemingly paralyzed with silence. Then Kushner says something. He says, quote, "You know, I don't think it's all that bad." Republicans at the time pushed back, and this account dredges some of that up in more detail. Paul Ryan disinvited Trump from a rally in Wisconsin. The idea was Mike Pence would go instead. And according to this account, that didn't work because he no-showed. No courtesy call, nothing. Republicans also at that time were critical in public.
I am not going to defend Donald Trump. Not now, not in the future.
Mr. Trump, that I respectfully ask you, with all due respect, to step aside. Step down.
I'm out. I can no longer, in good conscience, endorse this person for president.
Good conscience, his words. Now think about that when you follow this new reporting out to where we live today. Republicans who were so critical, who talked about moral and conscious reasons to oppose Trump, who have now come around.
He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. He doesn't represent my party.
Do you think that he is a racist?
Absolutely not.
This man is a pathological liar. He doesn't know the difference between truth and lies. He lies practically every word that comes out of his mouth. A narcissist at a level I don't think this country's ever seen.
In 2020, Donald Trump will be overwhelmingly reelected as president of the United States.
I'm out. I can no longer, in good conscience, endorse this person for president.
Well, my wife and I did vote for Donald Trump last week. I think we're doing and going through a lot of the discussions that people all across this country are doing.
The most damning words for each one of those 4 people you played were the words that came out of their own mouth. And it is right that we hold them accountable and Republican voters accountable, just as we hold this president accountable in 2020.
Because it makes me think that what you're saying is that, look, at the end of the day, people who say they vote Republican, they don't care about family values. Stormy Daniels, Access Hollywood. They don't care about the debt. It's going up. They don't care about repealing and replacing Obamacare. Haven't done that. They only care about the fact that President Trump is fighting for them. At least it appears to be that he's fighting for them. Just take us back to when these establishment Republicans Paul Ryan, Jason Chaffetz, Mike Lee, who's one of the biggest supporters of the president right now. When that Access Hollywood tape came out and they were all running for the hills, what did the president do?
So look, this was a game of chicken. Access Hollywood weekend was a game of chicken between the Republican establishment and Donald Trump. The Republican establishment did not want him from day one. They were very clear about that. There was even some behind-the-scenes stacking of the deck against Donald Trump, which I get to in the book. Donald Trump stared down the Republican establishment and he won, right? What happened that weekend was fascinating. You had the chairman of the National Party, Reince Priebus, fielding calls from dozens of the most influential people in Republican politics, the Speaker of the House, the Senate Majority Leader, governors, congressmen, the biggest donors in the party, and they're all telling him the same thing. We've got to force this guy out of the race. He cannot win. And Donald Trump essentially gave them the middle finger, and he said, I'm not going anywhere. And then what was so fascinating is the capstone to that weekend was the debate in St. Louis, 48 hours after the Access Hollywood tape came out. The Trump campaign has been in disarray. It appears to be on the brink of collapse. What does Donald Trump do? He flies 4 women to St. Louis who have accused the Clintons of sexual misconduct, and in that debate, he comes out swinging harder at Hillary Clinton than she swings at him. And that moment, and really that entire weekend, so perfectly crystallized Donald Trump's appeal to parts of the electorate, because they looked at him and they saw a deeply flawed individual. They saw an individual who they weren't sure if they could trust. They weren't sure if he agreed with them on many, many, many things. But they saw somebody who was not afraid. They saw somebody who was strong. And if the electorate does gravitate toward one characteristic in a politician, it is strength. Donald Trump has time and time again shown that he is not afraid to take on these fights that so many other politicians back away from.
The book is called American Carnage. It is out on Tuesday. Tim Alberta, really fascinating. Thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks.
Moved on her, and I failed. I'll admit it. Whoa. I did try and fuck her. She was married.
It's huge news, Sarah.
No, Nancy. Yeah. No, this was marriages, and I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took her out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there, and she was married. And all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony tits and everything. She's totally changed her look. I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. I can do anything.
Pull the ham.
Hello, how are you? Hi.
Trump, how
nice
are
seeing you. Terrific.
Pleasure to meet you.
Terrific. You know Billy Bush?
How are you?
Nice to see you. How you doing, Ariane?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Are you ready to be a soap star?
We're ready. Let's go. Make me a soap star.
How about a little hug for the Donald? He just got off the bus.
Would you like a little hug,
Okay,
darling?
absolutely. Melania said this was okay.
I just got off the bus. Bushy. There we go. Excellent. Well, you've got a